Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question. And that is, how do you heal the emotional abuse? How do you heal the emotional manipulation so that you're no longer triggered? You're no longer sort of set off. You're no longer agitated or manipulated and further falling into the trap of a malignant narcissist or a psychopath. But before we get started today, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Whoop whoop, we have India in the house. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to host these discussions, these dynamics, and really it's an honor and a privilege to be able to take your questions, your inquiries, and to assist you with these very troubling, painful, and confusing relationship dynamics, especially when it has you in the heat of the moment, the throes of the moment, and really this has been going on for so long, and it's time basically to put the brakes on the car, to say, stop, enough is enough, I'm no longer tolerating this. So thank you so much for your donations. And also, we have several other viewers who have recently donated to the channel. Whoop whoop! It's an honor and a privilege to be able to take these topics and really dive down deep and provide you with the tools and resources so you can make sense of the matter. So you're no longer operating in the confusion. You're no longer operating in the thought disorder. You're no longer doubting yourself. You're unequivocally clear on what has happened, and you have the audacity, the boldness, and the courage to say, stop, enough is enough. This is not going any further. So thank you so much for your donations, your contributions, your positive messages to me. It's really viewers like you that help keep the channel alive and keep me inspired and let me know that the information and content that we're providing is actually effective and working for you. So thank you so much for your recent donations. And absolutely positively, if you would like to give back to the channel, if we've been a positive resource and you would like to participate here, please do go to the PayPal Donate Now tab. There is, right on the homepage here at the Peace and Harmony channel, there's a PayPal Donate Now button and you can make a contribution there. So thank you so much. You're helping really make it very worthwhile for me. So let's move on. And really, let's focus in and dive in a little bit more in depth and how do you heal from the emotional abuse, the emotional manipulation, and stop from being triggered, from being set off, from being affected by feeling, the sadness, the grief, the loss, the feeling like you've been defeated. Really, all these sort of feelings are really what sort of rises up and bubbles to the surface when you're triggered. In other words, you're all of a sudden hitting the fight or flight. You're all of a sudden in a fear mode. You're in a sadness mode. You're disempowered. All these emotional states are disempowering, which means they stop you from being less than your potential. They stop you from being your authentic self. They're keeping you in the down and out. They're keeping you in the less than stratum. They're keeping you under the thumb, under the guise, under the illusion, and under the manipulation and the power of a malignant narcissist or a psychopath. Someone who is seeking essentially to disempower you, who wants to keep you less than, who wants to keep you afraid, who wants to keep you intimidated, who wants to keep you unhappy. I think what is most difficult for a lot of people who have been targeted by these individuals is to understand, they can't quite comprehend or make sense of why this would be a desirable thing to do it to another person. And that is to understand that you don't have an insatiable need to have power and control over another person. That's not what fuels you. That's not what gets you through your day-to-day measures. That's not what motivates you. That's not what makes sense to you on emotional, psychological, or spiritual level. You don't have that drive. You don't have that desire to, push people down, to make them feel less than. In fact, for most people who are sentient, feeling, empathetic, caring, humane people, to do that, to sort of prey on others and to make them feel weakened, less than, or injured emotionally, psychologically, or spiritually would be counterintuitive. It would be counterproductive. It would be causing a lot more struggles and trauma, and really that is the antithesis of what most people seek in relationships. Most people seek fun, harmony, learning together, growing together, validating one another, saying, having that bond, that oxytocin, that eye contact, that heart to heart, correspondence where both people are better after the communication than before. So most people would seek that sort of communication. But yet there are people who have a personality disorder who don't have that same desire or outcome out of a relationship. They're seeking to do others one up. They're seeking to take from the relationship. They're seeking to absorb from you whatever it is that they need, and they're not really intent on giving. They're not intent on being supportive. They're not intent really on sort of getting to know you. They're not intent on having empathy, because if they lack the capacity of empathy, they don't really understand your feelings, needs, wishes, desires, and help to kind of flush that out or bring those out of you. They're not seeking a better understanding. They're not seeking to, have this dynamic in the relationship. They're seeking, through lack of empathy, to take on a consistent and chronic basis. And eventually, if you take, it's like having, a certain number of jars in a spoon. If you were to have 20 spoons in a jar, and if you were to take, one by one out, eventually it would be depleted. So that's really what ends up happening, is the malignant narcissist or psychopathic really is just taking what they need from you. And then there's a certain element of deception. So it's not only that they are in, a taking mode, where they're taking your affection, your heart, your best qualities, your affection. Perhaps you've paying their phone bill, you're paying their rent, you're paying for their kids, you've bought them birthday gifts, you've made a sort of commitment to them, you've gone on some maybe one day or weekend day vacations. This could be a family member. It can be all sorts of situations, but eventually the tables get turned and you begin to expose this individual. Either, you find them cheating, you find that they are engaged in a lot of pathological lying, and they're very sort of an illusion or a deception or a facade with which they're interacting. So especially in the covert narcissist, it's very, very painful and very difficult, because they have a quiet rage, a seething rage underneath the surface. So, they seem very placid. Their strength really is their poker face. They will never share their emotions. They're not wearing their emotions on their cuff. They will never let you know what they're thinking or feeling. They keep everything very deep underneath the surface. And so, all the while there's this illusion that you are being listened to, or there's a very sort of, slight sort of incentive, in other words, meaning that you feel more for a longer period of time that this person is understanding what you're going through. But yet there's this sort of quiet rage where they feel like they know you better than you know yourself. And then out of the blue, they'll tell you, something that will be very hurtful. Or they'll tell you, I shouldn't have to do this for you. Or they'll just sort of, corrupt the relationship by things that eventually seep through the cracks, meaning hurtful things that you begin to expose them. You find that they had these negative feelings, but they never share them. These are the people who keep everything very bottled up. And you don't know that there's really problems in the relationship until decades later. And they begin to, let loose of some of their quote unquote opinions about you or your relationships. And there's a lack of approval. But the main thing is that to stop being triggered is to realize you don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. If these people are going to deceive if they are going to, not hold themselves accountable to what they're giving in the relationship, if they are belittling you, the worst is, when they're mimicking you or making fun of you, minimizing your feelings, imitating you and making fun of you, or really sort of the hits to the gut where you're, in the freeze mode because the hurt is so vast. You unequivocally need to know that you are more important. These people are not as important to you as you're making up in your mind. So that's the part of the challenge with how to stop being triggered and how to heal emotionally from these manipulators, is to realize the role that you play in the relationship. So in the love bombing phase particularly, there is a certain, period of time where you have idealized them, where you have put them on a pedestal of sorts, where you've given them a certain authority over yourself or in your life, or you have, just as they have wanted, looked up to you. Or I'm sorry, you have looked up to them. But it is not a two-way relationship. The tables aren't, they don't give the same in what you are giving to them. So there's a respect that you give to them, an authority. It's like almost, like someone you would give to the Marines, where you would have this unwavering loyalty or respect. If you fall out of line, soldier, you're going to get, the corporal punishment. So there's this feeling of pretense in the relationships, where when you really realize within the relationships, it's oftentimes very much about pretense, meaning there's a pretend element to their relationships. In other words, an ingenuineness. And there's a sort of gratuitousness with which they will partake in the relationship, which meaning just in order to keep you quiet, in order to keep you pacified. I had to do this for you. I had, and then there's a tinge of resentment. And so, to stop being triggered and to heal emotionally is realize really in your heart of hearts, no matter how difficult it is to admit to yourself, you unequivocally do not need this person. This person is not more important than you. You are the most important person in the equation. You are the most important person in the relationship. You are the one who is a priority here. It is not them. It is not the illusion of the narcissist that makes, that they are, projecting out that they are more important, more perfect, more knowledgeable, more talented, whatever it is that they are trying to project. That was set up in the beginning of the relationship, most particularly, that you need to take them down a couple notches. You need to take them down a lot of notches. In other words, you also need to take them down. You do not need them. You do not rely on them. You are not dependent on them for anything, for the air that you breathe, for the food that you wear, for the things that you look at, for the experiences that you have. In fact, you are the most important element in the picture. Your vision, your needs, your feelings, all your senses, all your five senses, including your intuition and your higher consciousness, your higher self, is what's important. So it's so important for you to really take them down and realize that they are not that important. And once you can do that and you start to sort of get a more of a neutral or dispassionate view or perspective of them, you then begin to gain real perspective. Things, the dust begins to settle. You realize, I am the most important here. If someone's going to take care of me, it's going to be me here. I'm the one who has to, walk and take myself to the doctor. I'm the one who has to walk and do this for myself. I am the one who has to go and get myself employed. I am the one who's responsible for my feelings. I'm the one who is responsible for my thoughts. I'm the one who's responsible for my choices and decisions. I'm responsible for where my attention goes. I'm responsible for feeding myself the images and feelings and experiences that I require to grow and to kind of raise up and go up in life. And so surrounding yourself with people, places, events, and situations that are uplifting to you, nurturing, nutritive, calming, harmonic, things that really uplift you and take you to the next level. You need to actively seek these out. And that's what the recovery date is all about. It's taking some time out to feed your inner healed, your inner healer, your inner artist, your inner musician, your inner professor, whatever it is within you that you are nurturing and cultivating, that inner artist, that inner business owner, prosperous individual, the inner sculptor, the sculptor of your life, the inner journeywoman, the inner journeyman. It's important for you to surround yourself with experiences and images of those experiences and images, most importantly, on the visual and sentient level that really do that for you. And only you know what makes you tick. So that's why I also discuss in the Recovery Journal how important it is for you to have a mentor or to know what you look up to. In other words, what is really inspiring to you? What is really motivating? Is it, a beautiful landscape? Is it a country villa? Is it a vineyard in Italy? Is it a big mansion on the lake? Is it, beachfront property in Hawaii? Is it a beautiful castle or a beautiful mansion in India? Is it a religious temple in, in Brazil? I mean, what really takes you to that next level of the sublime? You need to know what makes you tick here, and you need to surround yourself with these experiences so you can begin then to absorb it and say, this is my home. I am taking ownership here. This is the real me. This is the right perspective, not the devalued, discarded, manipulated, triggered individual. Because remember, that's what the malignant narcissist and psychopath are all about, the win. They are all about, proving that they are right. They want you to get, with your dukes up, and they love a fight. They want you to explain and justify yourself. They want you to enter into the boxing ring. They want to take you for a couple rounds. They want to, show you almost, like a lawyer would, just trying to defeat you. So realizing it's very important to acknowledge that this is how these people feel that they're most gaining significance in the world, oftentimes is by causing this trouble, by pointing out other people's flaws, by making fun of other people, by ridiculing other people, by, making others feel bad. See, if you can disempower somebody, all of a sudden you're the only one standing. And so that's all they're pining for. They always have to prove themselves right. They always have to feel that, prove themselves better, that they are, it's just how the perspective is. It is part of the personality disorder. And you're not going to change them. Don't attempt. It's an exercise of futility. So to stop being triggered is to realize that you have the control and command. It is all a fallacy and illusion to think that this person has puppet strings over you. So you can literally get, the air scissors and cut them down and free yourself. You might sit down for a moment and say, man, does it feel good to feel free and liberated? But you are free and liberated. You control your limbs. You control your lungs. You control your eyesight. You control what you touch, how you feel. You control your decision. So it's this awareness that you are in command and that it's okay to be in control. See, usually people always, for sake of maintaining the relationship, they had to give up control. They had to relinquish control to this other person. They had to bow down. Yes, you're right. You are the most talented one. Yes, you're right. You are superior to me. Yes, you're right. You are wealthier than me. Yes, you're right. You have better travels. You have better things. You've got a better car. You've got a better job. You've got a better family. Whatever it is, where you had to sort of concede or, become submissive in order to make the relationship work. That in the very crux of that is the problem, where you would, unequivocally taken a silent oath to this less than position. And the narcissist will not say, okay, it's time for you to rise up now and love yourself, because that's what it's all about in life. they're not going to tell you that. You're not going to hear this message from them. They're not going to seek you to be empowered, because for you to be empowered and happy and fulfilled and in control would be to render them helpless. So for them, they're very uncomfortable with this feeling of not being in control. They're very particular. They want to be in control. They want to be looked up. They need that sort of external validation. They want to hear it from other people. You look wonderful. You are wonderful. You are talented. You are the coolest. I mean, these people thrive on that. They don't have it inside. So what's important is for you to have that inside. You are important. You are the coolest. You are the most important. Really, nothing else matters here but you right now. You are the priority. And this does not make you malignant narcissist. Because you have empathy, because you are a humane, thinking, feeling person, and you're not out to hurt others. You're not, a sort of reckless, immoral individual. This is not who you are. You have a conscience. You have a sense of right or wrong. You have a sense of, I want to do the right thing. And that is priceless to me. So you have these as part of your personality, correct? So to know this is to reclaim yourself. It's to reclaim your personal power. And it's that awareness to realize that there is no cords, there is no strings, there is no sort of magnet between you and this person. They are not more important than you. It's not like the magnet and the steel. You can, become detached. You can pull back your energy so you're not magnetically, you need to pull your energy and your magnetism back to yourself. And, so you need to then not only understand that in the here and now, but you need to also understand that not only in the now, but to really embody that now and own that understanding and that experience in the now, and just say, amen, peace and harmony, you are right, I got it. Never again am I going to give up my feelings, my hearts, to feel less than. I can't be bought like that. You can't buy my soul like that. That's not happening. So not only that, in proclaiming that and your boundaries and your standards, it is to own this through your day. It is to own this through your moments, while you're doing the dishes, while you're driving your car, while you're making your lunch, your dinner, while you're getting, your house clean. It is to know this unequivocally in the core of your soul, and then to unequivocally also know that in the future that you carry this. So almost like a forecast, as I say. So to understand that if you were to be unexpectedly, up against or in, in communication with this person, that you don't lose that perspective, that you are the one who's important. You no longer are going to tolerate it. You don't want to enter into confrontation with these people. I would not recommend it. I would not recommend confronting these people if you can help it. But you can unequivocally say, I don't need to take this treatment. You can make a very short statement, between 5 to 10 words, and make it very short, simple, and sweet. That is it. Period. End of story. And if they are going to bicker and battle, the fact that, it's their unaccountability that is the problem. It is not your problem. It is their lack of accountability and respect of you. Don't you deserve respect? Don't you deserve to people to hold up their end of the deal? Don't you deserve to be treated with honor? Don't you deserve to be respected? I think that's what it's really all about. And really only people who have empathy and really can give others a sense of true, genuine respect. Only people who are humble enough can give the respect to others and say, okay, I see where you're coming from. I don't always need to be right. It's very important, because then you're really able to see sort of through people, and then you're not taken down by their outward show of bossiness, their outward show of pushiness, by their harsh criticism, their harsh judgment, because and one other thing you'll definitely understand, with the malignant narcissist, that for every finger pointing out, there's 4 pointing back. So in other words, for all, you'll find this very clearly that, you know, when the others begin to be, when they try to trigger you, these people are very triggerable themselves. So that is really very important. So for every trigger that they try to give to you, there's 4 more triggers that that person has within. So the person with a lot of the trigger problems is actually the malignant narcissist and the psychopath. Those people are the ones that are set off and need to manipulate and control and always keep others under their thumb because of their need for deception, their need for a persona, a need for a false self that interacts with the world. It's to hide their insecurity, their inferiority, or feeling of such. So they overcompensate through a very thick wall or facade. And, you really do get sick and tired of interacting with the illusion, the false deception of the malignant narcissist and the psychopath. Be yourself, be untriggerable, be happy. You are the most important person in the relationship. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.